What's trending? A Jason Rantz exclusive.
He punched me square in the chest. That is what the victim told me. It happened on Monday morning. I happened to be actually a few blocks away when it happened, as it turns out. He asked to remain anonymous, but he said he was randomly attacked while he was walking through Belltown. And it happened apparently feet away from police officers sitting in a cruiser. It was just after 7 a.m. when the man left his apartment, stopped at a corner store on 1st and Wall Street. And as he got out, he just happened to notice a police cruiser nearby. And so he's crossing the street when suddenly, out of nowhere, what appears to be a mentally unstable homeless person approaches. He said, quote, "I stood there. I saw a black man dressed in a gray sweat jumpsuit jaywalking in my direction. He seemed to be coming straight at me, and by the time I noticed, I couldn't react fast enough. He punched me square in the chest, hitting me hard in the heart. I tried to back away, but I hit a signpost behind me, making the blow even more solid." And it was at that point, he tells me, and he told police, we got the incident report, that the suspect, this homeless guy, started to taunt him, yelling at him, "You want to go? You want to go?" Thinking that he was trying to provoke some sort of fight. And so thankfully, the cops just happened to be nearby at the time, so he waves them down. The cops show up. And instead of backing down, he says this attacker turned the tables. He told me, quote, "As the first officer stepped out of his vehicle, the man who attacked me suddenly played the victim, shouting, 'He's got a knife, he's got a knife.' The officers focused most of their attention on him. One of them approached me asking what had happened. I explained the situation, and he asked if I wanted to press charges. I confirmed that I did." So the suspect at that point tries to walk away, according to the victim. And he said police engaged, he resisted until one officer drew a taser. Didn't have to use it. They were able to detain him without any further incident. But in the police report, and I know this piece might come as a shock to you, the officer said the homeless man was, quote, "in an active mental health crisis." It's so rare for that to happen. Usually these kinds of things don't happen, certainly not in Belltown in Seattle. Oh, no, they happen all the time. And we've allowed it to deteriorate to this point. Yeah, we have, unfortunately. Now, thankfully, this guy is okay. And it sounds like the Seattle City Attorney is going to be pressing charges on this. This didn't rise, apparently, to felony level. But they're going to pursue this. Now, if he was, in fact, having some sort of mental health crisis, and it appears that he was either pretending or he perceived the knife, quote unquote, was actually the guy's cell phone in his hand, so he perceived the cell phone as the knife. If he's experiencing or experienced some sort of mental health crisis, he deserves help. I don't need to put him in jail. However, if he's not going to get the help and you're not going to force the help, then yeah, he needs to be in jail. You know why? Because he's a threat. And every single day that you let people like this stay out on the streets, you're just begging for another victim to be created. The area that we're talking about here is just notoriously bad. There's homeless people absolutely everywhere. I learned this week that just this week, finally, the Seattle Police Department is now putting 4 patrol officers specifically to that general area for increased enforcement. Now, they can get pulled off of that at any point when they need to, and that's the folly of thinking these kinds of enforcement plans work, is that, yeah, they're there, but if they have to respond to a 911 call, they get repositioned for that 911 call, so they're not going to be there all that much. And I've walked around this particular area a few times so far this week, and I've not seen any cops. Again, it could just be the time I was walking by, certainly. But this is a mess of the city's own making. Rather than do anything, with the mentally unstable and dangerous homeless. They just leave them out on the streets, which is cruel to the individuals who are in desperate need of help. And it's dangerous for anyone who walks around or lives there or works there or is just passing through. This guy didn't do anything. He was just walking to work in the morning. And the sad and scary part about this, it can happen to anyone. When you're dealing with mentally unwell people or drug addicts, you don't know how they're going to behave or act other than it's not going to be good. At best, it'll be a nuisance that makes you maybe a little bit uncomfortable. At worst, you get attacked and or killed. And every time something like this happens, I think we can all say, based on policy decisions, that these are choices that the city is making that creates an environment in which this happens. If we lived in a city, and again, it's funny because we don't even have to talk about this in the context of Seattle. You can say this about Tacoma, Bellingham, wherever, Spokane, wherever it is. The reality is, if you live in a city that allows the homeless to pretty much do whatever it is they want, when they commit a crime, that means we chose to allow them to make a crime. If there are policies in place and there's good faith efforts to actually tackle the crisis where you're enforcing the law, you're getting people the help that they so desperately need, and a crime occurs still after that, that wasn't by choice. That just happened because crimes do in fact occur. And you cannot be perfect when dealing with the homeless. But when you're not even trying, and the city is not even trying, Bruce Harrell is so incredibly lazy. He is so incredibly lazy. They're not even trying, so these are based on choices. We are choosing to become victims. We're choosing it. Now, tomorrow, the mayor is announcing that they're going to spend more money on homeless outreach with the group CARE. And I actually think CARE can do some good work, but unless you are giving power to police, this isn't going to work. You can't just focus on the non-police aspect of tackling the issue. It doesn't work. You know how I know it doesn't work, Jackson?
How do you know?
Because I live here and notice basic things like homelessness getting worse and crimes getting worse and people not getting arrested. Isn't it weird?
Well, yeah, but don't believe your lying eyes.
It's called observations. I mean, we know it doesn't work because that's what they've been doing for the last several years, and no one in their right mind would say it's working. The best argument that I've heard, and I made this argument, is that things have gotten better in some degree in spite of the mayor, in spite of policies that allow it to get as bad as it's gotten. There's an article, we can just do it now, it was on the show sheet. It's from a not great Seattle Times reporter who gets things wrong pretty frequently, Kai Uyahara. Homelessness in Washington is growing, but at a slower rate. Why? Now, just on the headline, you can sort of get a sense of the direction and framing here. It's almost like, see, things are working. It's growing, but much slower. That's not a positive. That's not a brag. It's still getting worse, but not as fast as it has been getting in the past.
We need it to actually go down.
Yeah, it's not to slow down the upward surge. It's to slow down and go down. You know what I mean? And so I don't understand why they would choose to frame it this way other than it's the Seattle Times. And the Seattle Times is in an industry that caters to left-wing politicians and activists, and so they don't want to just criticize really bad work. And so they'll say, in lieu of being able to point to a success, because they can't, they'll create a success. Well, it's not getting as bad as fast as it normally does. That's not great. That's like saying, murders only went up by 50% instead of 60%. I mean, but they're not down 50%, right? No, they're still up, but they're just not up as much. How's that a win? How's that success? If anything, it tells me we're just running out of people who can become homeless to begin with.
Well, you just got to temper your expectations then.
Yeah, that's fair, right? I mean, I do have basic expectations. The funny thing is, my expectations are not even all that crazy. Like, I just want some improvement. I don't need homelessness to go away tomorrow. I'm not going to be unrealistic. That's not going to happen. But maybe not going up is one benchmark we can maybe hit at some point, maybe. The sad part about all of this, whenever those numbers come out, regardless of the numbers we get, just understand it's still an estimate, because it's literally, the way that they do this is they do a snapshot, it's called. It's a point in time. They have organizers, volunteers, agency staff. They literally walk around and they just do counts. And then from that, they extrapolate a larger number. But they literally say, oh, there's 1, 2, 3. That's how they do it. I did one of these walks once, or I was there from a media perspective. And that means for certain the numbers are way worse. They can't be better, right? Because you can only count someone you see. There's a ton that they don't see. A ton. So it's way worse than they even tell you. Oh, but good news, it didn't grow as fast as it has been. The growth is starting to stall out. But it's still growth? Yeah, but it's okay. Push the button.
What's trending?